Howdy-ho, Andrew, aka Calfear here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to my Sunday gaming videos. So, it's no secret, one of the games I am most hyped for, excited for, anticipating is Exodus. And I don't buy a lot of new games anymore. I really don't. I have a massive catalog of old games I still need to play, and I'm replaying games that I loved in the past. And a big part of that is I've been very disappointed by the newer games, specifically the writing quality. It just hasn't been good. Like Starfield, I had huge hopes for Starfield. And in the end, the writing wasn't very good. The story, it became, at least in my eyes, very watered down writing and pushing a modern day political agenda rather than just crafting a spectacular storyline. And the potential was there, but they got sidetracked with activism. And I've noticed this in a lot of games, even games I don't play, because I watch a lot of YouTube videos on gaming. And other people have been echoing these same concerns. So I don't buy a lot of new games. I'm very picky on what I buy and what I like. I loved Dragon Age Origins. It's in my top 3 games of all time. But I won't buy Veilguard. I actually, to be honest, if Amazon gave it away, because I'm an Amazon Prime member, so every month Amazon gives away, it's usually older games and that, but every once in a while they come out with AAA games and they give them away for free. And that's how I actually got Mass Effect Legendary Edition, because I owned Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. So I saw no reason to buy the Legendary Edition because I had played 1, 2, and 3 through and through 100 times over. But Amazon gave it away for free. So I'm like, well, why not? Grabbed it, played it. Loved the changes for the most part. There's a couple I didn't like, but for the most part, loved the changes. Thought it was a really good remaster. But so even if Amazon was to give away Veilguard, I honestly, I wouldn't even bother getting it and putting it in my catalog, even if I had no intention of buying it. Because I know the writing is so horrendously bad that why would I bother? And this is echoed through a lot of modern day games, even games that I have no intention of playing. Like, I'm not an Ubisoft fan. I tried the original Assassin's Creed because the concept appealed to me, but I hated the mechanics of the game and I ended up not finishing it. I only played for I want to say 2 or 3 hours at most, and the mechanics just pissed me off so much that I just said, no, I'm done, and so they came out with that, with Yaski, the Black Samurai. Well, I loved Jade Empire by BioWare, but I was never going to buy that Yaski Black Samurai game because I could see what it was about right from the word go. But everything I've read and everything I've watched tells me same thing. Special interest activism took over what should have been just a studio crafting a game for the people. Escapism. Like, I use that word all the time, but it's very true. We play games to escape reality, not have reality smack us in the head. And that's my biggest complaint of the modern day studios and the modern day AAA games. Starfield was guilty of it. Veilguard was guilty of it. Inquisition, which I did buy, was guilty of it. And it goes on and on and on. So I don't buy a lot of modern games. There has to be something that really draws me in. And Starfield, they did that, and I was very disappointed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I still plan to finish Starfield at some point, but if I had loved the game, I would have finished it by now. So it's just, I'll go back and I'll force myself, like Cyberpunk. I finished Cyberpunk 6 or 7 times before Phantom Liberty came out. And I haven't finished Phantom Liberty, but that is the exception to the rule, because Phantom Liberty is excellent. I just got really bogged down on my YouTube channel, and gaming took a back seat as I focused on the YouTube channel. But I still plan to finish Phantom Liberty, and unlike Starfield, I think Phantom Liberty is a AAA smash hit. I loved everything I was doing about it. I just got sidetracked, and that's a problem. Hey, look, a squirrel. And yeah, so For a game to appeal to me, for me to want to spend, like pre-order or spend money, they have to draw me in. They have to do something to make me want to play that game. And Exodus has done that. And The Expanse: Osiris Reborn has done that. So those are the two games I'm really pumped on. And then to a smaller degree, Mass Effect 5. Like, Mass Effect Andromeda was such a miss for the exact same reasons as I've been saying, is the activists, the special interest activists got their hands on it. And the writing was not very good in that game. So I am hoping, now that EA has been sold and Saudi guys have it, I'm really hoping that they can return Mass Effect to what it was in 1, 2, and 3 and get away from Andromeda. But I'm deterred by the rumors that I hear that Mass Effect 5 will include Andromeda. I honestly believe they should treat Andromeda like Highlander 2 and just, it doesn't exist. That would be my go-to. But anyway, back to Exodus. So I'm really pumped for this game. So a channel I don't follow, GameSpot, because I don't have a lot of use for these modern day propaganda sites. Let's call a spade a spade. They are paid to put a positive spin on the biggest pieces of crap out there. You know, be it, well, I'm not going to go through all their names. We all know who they are. They're the big gaming sites, and they sell their reviews, and we know this. So, but this one did a interview with Drew Capshire and the I forget his name now. I always forget his name. I don't know why. Chad Robertson. And I think what a great way, you know, get two leading focuses of Exodus to sit down and answer questions. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to watch the interview. I'll jump in. I'll give you my 2 cents. But this should be an interesting gaming video on a game that I am really pumped to see come into fruition. So let's get started on that.
How much are you willing to sacrifice to save your world?
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy and I'm joined by the Exodus team. So we've got Drew and Chad. Thank you so much for joining me. So we're actually shooting this before the Game Awards, but I still have many questions for you.
Okay, right off the bat, and this might be controversial to people, but just for my backstory, I am a professional male model, retired. And I worked in the hotel customer service industry for a lot of years, so presentation is key to me. This girl right here, that just screams slop. Like, she's got nothing, she is part of GameSpot, she's got nothing to do with these two, but her whole presentation is slop. I'm just going to call a spade on that one. You know, and this is part of the problem, is like, have a little bit of self-respect, people. Anyway, that's going off the rails. It's just jumped out at me right off the bat.
As soon as I saw this interview kind of come through the email, I was like, I'm taking that one, thank you very much. I went on Archetype's website, and there's a quote on there that I found very exciting. Your mission is to create the greatest sci-fi role-playing games in the world. What does that quote mean to you in 2025?
I can remember the origins of that quote when we first started the studio. We take it very seriously. Like, our goal is to make something that can resonate with fans and stand the test of time. There's a bunch of amazing sci-fi IPs out there, and also a bunch of amazing sci-fi IP-based video games, some that we've worked on previously. We would love to someday be, referenced at that kind of hallmark level of, legendary games that fans still love, decades from now. And the decisions we make when we're working on Exodus are very much based in that every single day, to try to be smart about being smart developers, but also be smart about doing the right things qualitatively to get to a benchmark that we can be very proud of for a very long time.
That's a great answer. Now, hopefully it's not just an answer to tell people what they want to hear. This is part of the problem when you're doing interviews, is you're never fully sure whether they're telling you the truth or they're just telling you what they think you want to hear. But I am going to hope and pray that they are telling us what they honestly feel, because that's a great answer. Don't just make a game to make money. Make a game that you think is going to redefine the genre for the long term. That should be the goal of every single developing studio out there. And I honestly don't think it is. If I'm being very honest, I don't believe that is the goal of 90% of the studios out there nowadays. So Chad answered that perfectly, and I just hope he's telling the truth and not telling us what we want to hear. we will see soon enough. But yeah, great answer.
And so when you are approaching a game, like especially brand new one, where do you start? What are the building blocks? How do you know that things are kind of falling into place a bit?
I mean, of course, it obviously starts with having very talented people. We're extremely lucky to have an incredibly diverse and talented group from many successful studios who've come together to create something. But then we also really want to make sure that we have a solid IP world built. We want to have the depth, the scope. We want to have all sorts of things to explore in our universe. That allows us to dig deep on many different things, explore a lot of different themes, take it in different directions. As the project evolves, we're able to see what resonates with us because we're fans of science fiction, and take those things and run with them, bring them to the forefront, and really just explore all these different corners and give the player an opportunity to explore all sorts of different corners that they want to get into as well.
And I suppose that your eyes and experiencing this through the character June, how do you approach building a character that has to be, they have to be a person, but still leaving enough for the player to insert themselves into?
Yeah, so you're right. June can be male or female. This is the story of June. You begin the game as a lowly salvager on your home world of Leiden, and as the game progresses, you discover that June has a connection to a very powerful traveler dynasty, and you have some unique genetic enhancements that allow you to use powerful celestial technology in ways other people can't. And using those advantages and the collection of companions and allies, you slowly rise up to claim your role as a leader. But how you do that is something we want the players to be able to choose and decide what journey they take. So we kind of give you a very basic starting position, and you don't know a lot about the world as a character, June, because you're going to discover it as the players do too. As June becomes more powerful, influential, and learns more about the greater universe out there, players will also learn it. So it's a good way to draw players along the character journey at the same time.
I totally agree. And this is something the original BioWare, not so much the EA BioWare, but the original BioWare did so well, is be it Revan in Knights of the Old Republic, be it, I forget the character name in Jade Empire, but it was all the same. It's like, you can be male or you can be female. Cyberpunk did it well in CD Projekt Red. In Cyberpunk, it was V is male or female. And that's how it should be. It's like, one of my main complaints is Cyberpunk 2077, and I only had a couple, but one of my main complaints was that they forced you into first person, even though the game originally was being designed in third person. Somebody came in, I don't know what they were, but they came in and they said, oh, no, third person is terrible and you can't do that. And they changed to first person only. And I thought that was a mistake. Giving the players the choice to play the game how they want to play it should be the mandatory number one commitment from any developer studio. So if you want to play the female version or the male version, you should have that option. If you want to play first person or third person, you should have that option. Like, these should not be shoehorned on any player. We should have the choice to play these games how we want to play them. And that makes so much sense to me. And yet there is so much pushback from closed-minded people that, they like, well, especially with the third person and the first person, is like, I like first person, therefore I have to crap all over anyone that likes third person and demand that we only get first person games because that's what I want. Like, screw you. Give us the choice. Let the player make the choice. Same thing for the male and the female. Let us have the choice how we want to play. I won't lie. Sometimes I like rolling up a female character. Other times I like rolling up the male character. Where's the harm either way? Let me have the choice. Now, where I'm going to draw a line on this is you go look at Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. You got to play as a male or female Revan, and you got to play as a male or female Exile. But in those games, it was very obvious that, at least it was to me, that both games were written for the male character. Like, you play, especially part 2. Part 2 became the big sticking point because the activists got in there and they're like, oh no, it's got to be a female Exile. No, if you actually played the game, the female Exile was the lesser of the two stories. And it wasn't the fault of the female, it was the fault of the support characters. With the male exile, you got the handmaiden and a love interest story, and it was spectacular. And Visas and the handmaiden, they played off each other perfectly on the show. It was a spectacular story, and the handmaiden was an important character in that story. If you played the female exile, which the activists pushed and pushed, and that actually became the canon mistakenly, in my opinion. If you played the female exile, the handmaiden wasn't even involved. She had this tiny little snippet, and you ended up with this character named the disciple who brought nothing to the story. So I wasn't a real fan of that, but I'm a fan of choosing. Let the players choose. Do they want to play male? Do they want to play female? Do they want to play first person? Do they want to play third person? These are standards that should be standard in every modern day game, without exception.
In terms of mapping out things like decisions, morally impactful, how are you eking those out across the game? Are there going to be a lot of short-term ones, conversational options that maybe block you off from other characters, and then these big, hey, I'll make this decision hour 2, and then maybe hour 10, I'll come back to that one.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good summary. I mean, we intended and wanted to be a mix of both. So you've got sort of micro decisions and these bigger ones, but ultimately, cumulatively, June goes on, does like sort of local planet travel fairly frequently on missions, but at bigger moments in the game, there's Exodus missions that he undergoes, and those are the ones that involve travel at near light speed, where time dilation comes into play. And the quick summary there is, if you're traveling at near light speed, time moves more slowly for you than for those back on your home world. And so June has made tough choices about who he might leave behind, decisions about his dynasty, and other things that could impact what's going on in his home world while he's gone. And so the time passage there is much greater. And so when he returns, the consequences of those choices unfold at a much greater and more epic scale. And so there's a combination of smaller decisions and bigger decisions and choices that you make, and those basically tally up to a place where you get back to your home world and see the consequences of all that together at one time. And that happens several times throughout the game at a much bigger scale. That's pretty cool.
So we're talking potentially, people dying back home, and
we're going to save spoilers, but yeah, you can. I mean, as humans, there's a lot of things that can happen to you when you're gone for extended periods of time, or for those that are left behind as well.
Boy, I'm already kind of anxious about that.
So Lisa, like one of the things that we love, we like those put the controller down moments when you're trying to make a decision in a game. Like that was one of the mantras we had very early on. It's like the more moments we can create like that for players, where it's just that angst-ridden, what do I do here? Because I know there's going to be something that happens amazingly down either path that I choose. If we get that right, we will get that right. That's good. There's going to be plenty of those moments in Exodus for people.
And of course, obviously, needs to have his crew with him. So can we talk a little bit more about some of the folks who'll be joining? Not all human, I understand.
So just before we get into the crew stuff, as I've said before, the time dilation backdrop and leaving people behind to age out while you do your missions, that appeals to me so much, because I keep calling it replayability. You play it once, you make these choices, then you go back and you play it again, but you make different choices, and those choices affect your story. So obviously the main story is going to stay the same, but the how you come about to the main story could vastly change, and that really appeals to me. It kind of reminds me of the old, I don't even know if they still have them nowadays. In the 80s and 90s, they had Build Your Own Adventure, and it was a book, and it was like you get 5 situations, and you go, okay, I picked this situation, and it says go to page da da da, and you turn to page da da da, and then it starts to continue the story, and it offers you another choice, and you pick a new choice, and it says go to page da da da, and you're crafting your own story by different choices. And then you could open up the book again from the start and take different choices, and it would craft the story in a different way. And that's kind of how this appeals to me, or appears to me. And I am very interested to see that happen, because up till now, we've had choices in games, but every choice comes to the same conclusion. Like the wording might be different, but it's the same conclusion. The way they've been talking is your choices are actually going to send you off into a different direction. And I am so interested in that happening. I can't wait for it. I really can't. And I am looking forward to doing that. And I hope they can deliver on what they're promising.
And
Yeah, you have a pretty wide-reaching array of companions. So we've got a few that are already featured in our trailers on our website. You have Tom and Elise. They're both human. Tom is sort of your level-headed, get things done guy, the planner. Elise has a giant mech suit and likes to just smash things in the face, which is the way I like to roll. You have other companions. One that we're introducing now is Salt, who is an awakened octopus. So the awakened are hyper-intelligent animals. She is a pilot of her own mech suit. She is a companion who joins you fairly early in the game. Like most of our companions, there are relationships you can have. Salt is not interested in humans, so you can't have a romantic relationship with her, but many of your companions you can have romantic relationships. They all have their own goals and wants and motivations. So as you're going through your companions, you have to decide who you want to prioritize, who you want to sort of side with. They're going to have their own conflicts and disputes, and managing this and accepting the consequences of the choices you've made and deciding who you want to side with or against is a big part of the role-playing experience.
And I wonder how, if talking infamous romance and relationship building, you think about Mass Effect, I was wondering, as you worked on it, how is that approach to building relationships with the squad mates changed compared to Mass Effect versus Exodus? Is there anything new you're trying for this, or are there things that you're like, we did that already, we're doing something else?
As we've often said among ourselves and even publicly, there's a long history of games like Mass Effect that we have a lot of respect for. We've obviously been involved in. We want to sort of keep the spirit of those things alive. Companion relationships is obviously a big part of that. But what we're trying to do is also take things to another level. So some of that is our own experience. We're just sort of getting better. We know what works, what doesn't work. Some of it is technology. Things just are so much more impressive how they look now and how they feel. But a big part of our game is adding in that element of time dilation, which just magnifies every choice you make. So if you choose to go on an Exodus mission, you might leave some of these people behind. And obviously, if you have a romance going with someone and you're gone for years or decades or maybe even generations, it's going to have a pretty serious impact on that relationship. So we've just tried to elevate the bar, take it to a new level. That's really what we're focusing on with this game, is making the kind of things we love, but taking them to a level fans haven't really seen before.
And what was the approach to Celestials in creation, and how you can interact with them and see them in the game?
Yeah, so our game is set in a very far, 15,000 years away from Earth Centauri cluster, and the ARC ships from Earth in the 23rd century all traveled there. Some of them got there very early, and those people evolved and changed over thousands of years and became transhuman. They became Celestials. They were once human, but they've evolved and changed so much in different branches that they're almost alien. And the humans in our game that you play, June, for example, are newcomers. They've only recently arrived in the last, maybe 100 years. So they are still basically humans as we know them. But interacting with these Celestials, they see us as primitive, unevolved. If we're lucky, they see us as a nuisance. If we're unlucky, they see us as something that needs to be exterminated. So that is one of the core conflicts of our universe, is this conflict between humans trying to find their place in a society that is far more technologically advanced than they are and really kind of looks down on them.
Obviously, the game, when it was announced a couple years ago, McConaughey on stage. The Interstellar.
So yeah, I think it's actually really interesting that instead of doing the standard aliens, and I wouldn't be too surprised if they brought in aliens, but instead of doing the standard aliens, they did the evolution. And because of the time dilation, different humans evolved. And how did they evolve? Like if I'm understanding it correctly, and I have read the book, but if I'm understanding it correct, some evolved into unthinkable horror. Some evolved into super intellect. Some evolved into, take the Roman Empire, and that's their basis, and they evolved using those principles. So just because they were all human, they've evolved into different concepts or hierarchies. And I find that super interesting. Like way back, I used to play a game called Dark Age of Camelot. It was an MMORPG, and I loved that game. But Mythic had talked about coming out with another MMORPG called Imperium. And what Imperium was what if the Roman Empire had never been defeated and it evolved? And that concept, even back in the 90s, that just appealed to me so much. Or I guess it would have been 2000s. Anyway, that appealed to me so much. The game never got off the ground and it eventually got turfed. But for that short little window, I was super hyped for it because the concept of that game just, yes, I want to see this. I want to see the Roman Empire in space and that culture. So yeah, I'm super stoked for this. Like, I want to see where they take all these different celestial aliens. Well, they're humans, but the celestials. I want to see where they take them. How did they evolve? What was their ideology? What was their hierarchy? What was their premise? That in itself is interesting to me. I honestly don't see how anyone couldn't be interested in that. So, and it lets your imagination run wild. Where does it go?
Vibes. I was interested, first of all, how you got Matthew McConaughey involved, and what his role is going to be, and then I'd love to talk about inspirations. So,
yeah, absolutely, great question. Before answering your specific question, I'll just say, like, we're a collection of just game development nerds, and so the opportunity to work with somebody like Matthew McConaughey was like, still, it's obviously a thrill, but also just sometimes it's like, did this really happen? We've been working with him for a few years now. He's been an amazing partner, super collaborative with us. This is his first video game, and in the trailer that we showed, that's the first reveal of his characters. Characters named CC Orlev. CC serves in the game as sort of a mentor and an advisor to June. There's some mystery behind that in terms of how he appears, when he appears. The advice that he gives to June sometimes isn't exactly what June may want to hear, but Cece's had a little bit more experience than he has. And so that paints an interesting relationship between the two of them. Cece also serves as a bit of a voice of the people in the game. And so that's a nice twist where, sometimes he doesn't agree with the choices that June makes. And so you'll hear a bit of that through his commentary with his, in the homeworld that June lives in. In terms of how the connection to Matthew it was established. The exact connection we had that established, I don't even recall exactly, but what made it a working situation for us was one where we had a call with him, and ultimately describing the game to him, because of his background in Interstellar, he immediately understood what time dilation could mean, and then understood that in an interactive environment, the magnitude with which we could tell a story beyond what even he was able to do with the movie Interstellar was something that was super intriguing to him. And so it made sort of the pitch to him much easier, and he was into it like almost immediately, which was amazing. And then ultimately we just continued to talk to him, and ultimately landed at a place where he was ready to work with us. And as you may remember, he was with us when we first announced the game in 2023. We've done a bunch of work with him since. Drew and the team do a lot of writing and adapting based on the feedback that he's given us, which is super
How many
nice.
all rights do you have to put in there? Do you have to put...
I was going to say the line that has preceded me on my career. All right.
Triple.
Well,
Triple, yeah, 3.
We'll say that. But we did make his character a bit of a space cowboy, so we feel that's on brand.
Yeah, he's definitely influenced some of the things we've done, and he's picked up on elements of the IP really quickly and given us feedback on it, which has been super cool.
Awesome. And so obviously we'll wrap up soon, but like Interstellar, any other key inspirations? Because I know there's a book, a secret level, so there's ways to prepare for Exodus.
Sure. I mean, as you alluded to, there's a lot of source material out there now that we've developed. So we have the book from Peter Hamilton. We have Adrian Tchaikovsky, another very talented science fiction writer, who's done some short stories for us. They're on our website. Really fascinating stuff. They've kind of helped us develop this universe. We have the tabletop role-playing books. But all of this is inspired by sort of class.
I'm a big tabletop role player. I ran a Fallout campaign, made my own campaign set in Canada, and ran it for about a year before, some OOC issues, health issues had forced me to pull away from there. But I'm waiting to play the game before I delve into their tabletop, because I think there is enough complexity in this design that I want to see it in action in the game. And then once I play the game and I play it through and I play it through and I play it through, once I've done that, then I'm probably going to pick up the tabletop, because then I'm going to have a working knowledge. Like with Fallout, I had the benefit of playing all the Fallout games, and I had a concept of what I wanted to do. Some of it worked, some of it didn't, and maybe someday I'll make a video on that because that's a story in itself. But, I had the benefit of the Fallout games to use as a backdrop, and that's how I'm going to approach this. Is I fully expect I will pick up the tabletop on this game, but I want to play the game first and play it through enough times, get my virtual feet wet, and then start to delve into the tabletop version.
Classic sci-fi. I mean, we're big fans of things like Star Wars, Star Trek, Dune. These sort of classic sci-fi inspirations have helped guide us. And then, of course, there's, as we alluded to, games we've worked on, games we've admired. All of this is sort of things you take in as a creator, and you try to capture the spirit of them and the theme of them, but present it in a new, unique way, right? You don't want to just make something that feels familiar, but you want to honor the spirit of what's out there.
Well, Drew, Chad, thank you so much for joining me, and for more Nexus, I'm hoping we get hands on it sooner rather than later. I'm very excited to play. Stay tuned to GameSpot.
All right, so there you go. It was a lot of that was rehashed over the developer diaries, and I did a whole series of them. You can go back and look at that, but it's interesting stuff, and we're still, while they say 2027, unfortunately, I was hoping it was going to be 2026. So, we got about 10 to 12 months before this game is released. So, any information is good information as far as I'm concerned. And I am really stoked for this game. And yeah, hopefully there'll be more reveals coming out soon. I still have some questions on this game that they have not answered. I think I know the answers, but they have not answered them yet. So I'll give it time and see if they do come out and answer them. I suspect this is a new Mass Effect. I haven't been shy about saying that. I do not think this is a new Cyberpunk 2077, and that might be my one concern, because I've said in other videos, by the time you're watching this, I'm 60 years old. I want adult fare. Now, by adult fare, I mean adult situations, adult concepts, adult storylines. I'm not talking about nudity and all that, though I'm not against that either if it fits. But I want adult. I don't want kids fare. And I have a suspicion this game's going to be more PG than mature. But maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know for sure. That's just my suspicion. But other than that, I am really stoked for this game, and I can't wait to try it. So, yeah, come into the comments. Tell me, what do you think? I mean, I don't think that was a very great interview. I'm going to be very honest about it. I don't think the interviewer was very good. But looking past that, just at the answers and the concepts of the game, I am so stoked for this game. There's no other way to put it. I'm really, really excited for this game, and I am really, really excited for The Expanse, Osiris Reborn. Both games I fully expect to pre-order, and I expect to spend hundreds, if not 1,000 hours in the game. So can't go wrong with that. Anyway, that's my video for this Sunday. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and a share. I'm still trying to grow my channel, so a like, subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. It takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching this on Rumble, please follow my channel. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Again, come in, tell me what are your hopes, your dreams, your expectations for this game. Let's have a conversation. Also, leaving a comment really does help me on the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.